So hello, welcome to J Designs. Today we're going to talk about why I hate this guy right here, and also flatbed build. So yeah, I said flatbed build, and this video is going to serve as a bit of a prologue. Like the next video that comes on this channel will be this flatbed build. But first, and for this video, I wanted to cover why, now that I've had that thing you see behind me, why I hate this guy and think trucks shouldn't come with bedsides and they should all have flatbeds. So I know there's no bedside on here now, and they definitely won't go back on, but the bedside would normally come up to here. The first reason why I think all trucks should come with flatbeds and not have bedsides is a bit of a personal one, but I think most people would agree that it's pretty hard to reach over that bedside and access pretty much anything in the bed. Like, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but I would be willing to bet that most people cannot reach something in the center of their bed over the bedside without like trying to get up on the tire like this and then reaching over the bedside. And with newer trucks and aerodynamic playing a more and more important role in fuel economy, bedsides just keep getting higher and higher and higher on newer trucks. So why not just convert them all to flatbeds and not have that problem? Now, for the second reason as to why I don't like bedsides on trucks, let me show you the factory bedside laying on the ground. So this whole entire space inside of the bedside is pretty much completely unutilized on the factory setup. Toyota does put a little toolbox here at the rear of the truck, but the rest of it is completely wasted space. Let me show you this little model I made that helps visualize the volume inside of this thing that is just completely wasted and totally unusable by this factory setup. So I went and took a couple of measurements from the factory bed, and I made this little model here. So hopefully it's a little bit easier to visualize the volume that I'm going to be calculating. Quickly cover some of the features on this guy. So you can see there, this would be the bedside here, and then this would be actually have an 8-degree lean. The factory bed leans in on both sides, and then obviously this cutout here would be the fender well. So quickly how I'm calculating the volume, if you see we make that here, you just calculate the volume of a rectangle, which would be this side and the two sides of this guy, and then you deduct that triangle that's being made by this and that 8-degree lean, and then we also deduct this trapezoid here. Pretty simple calculation, but the crazy part is it comes out to a little over 5,000 cubic inches of space. Converting that over something that's a little more usable for people, that's a little over 22 gallons and 64 liters of space. Now, if 22 gallons is a little bit hard to visualize, that is 22 of these guys per bedside. That's crazy. So if we were able to convert both of those to fuel, that would actually, and you were to use both bedsides, that would actually almost triple the range of the truck, and that much fuel would also weigh 133 pounds and 60 kilograms. So that volume right there is just a tremendous waste of space, and if it could be utilized, you would just have a lot more usable truck. Also, my truck's a 6-foot bed. If you had a 5-foot bed, you would be a lot less wasted volume. But either way, it's still a huge wasted volume. Another thing quickly, it's not a perfect calculation because the bedside is actually rounded, and that would just be really hard to calculate. And also the bedside tapers as it goes to the rear of the truck. So this isn't perfect, but the fact that it's such a huge volume that's being wasted is the point I'm trying to make. Now, as well, with that little representative volume that I'm showing you that I'm calculating, I'm actually not even accounting for the space that's underneath the bed right here, or the spaces underneath the bed right here. Those are both wasted spaces on the factory bedside. On this one, underneath the flatbed, I've got an air compressor. On the other side of the truck, there's a battery. And then over here in the future, I'll either have a fuel tank or a water tank stored right here, so we can actually utilize that volume. Another super nice thing we can do when we don't have bedsides is we can quickly get into the bed. Usually I got to step on the tire or something like that, but for me it's super simple. I just step on my rock slider, grab the rain gutter up here, and step right into the bed. That is super nice, and you definitely can't do that or this with a bedside in the way. Link to the rock slider build up there, by the way. So there's one more reason why I did this flatbed build over having the factory bed, and that is weight. So this is a little bit lighter, not too much, about 40 pounds lighter than the factory setup. And a lighter vehicle is better in pretty much every aspect. Better braking, better acceleration, better fuel economy, better capabilities off-road, better steering response from the driver. the benefits pretty much don't end as you start decreasing weight on your vehicle. But with those reasons in mind, none of those are the primary reason why I did this flatbed build. The main reason why this truck looks like this and does not look factory anymore is because this thing's getting a camper build. Yeah, that's right, camper build. It's gonna be really cool. None of the campers on the market really met what I wanted to do with a camper, so I just set out to build one myself. Luckily, pretty early on in that camper build, I realized the way to go with that camper build would be to build a flatbed first and then build a camper. Obviously, we can have slide-in campers, but I really feel that the flatbed is the way to go when you're doing a camper build. Let me explain. Now, the first reason for going with a flatbed build over keeping the factory bed is really this is just a nice big square to work with. It's essentially 6 by 6. And it's a lot simpler to build a camper on this than it would be to build a slide-in one. And furthermore, it's a lot easier to secure a camper to this bed than it would be to the bedsides, because if there's a bedside that comes up to here and you're trying to anchor the camper in this corner, you need like trap doors and stuff like that to access the tie down points in this corner. The rear are a little easier. You probably wouldn't have a tailgate and you could just strap down to your rear bumper or the frame, something like that. Now, going back to that bedside wasted volume idea, it would waste about this much space all the way down the entire side of the truck, and that's completely unusable by the camper. Now I can push the camper out all the way to both sides of this bed, and that's going to make for a much nicer living space inside of the camper. Okay, so for this one, you're going to have to use a bit of your imagination because the camper is not there right now. Obviously, I still got to make the thing. But this is one of the most important reasons as to why I converted the truck over to a flatbed versus just keeping the factory bed on it. All right, so imagine a nice big box that comes up like this, goes over the cab a little bit, and then comes back down, the sleeping quarters on top. It's got a nice pop top on the camper. Really nice camper, right? Now, if there's a bedside that comes up here, goes to about there, comes across, and goes down to there, that space is completely inaccessible to like the sides of the camper. So you can't do cooling, you can't have any windows down there. There probably wouldn't be any windows that low, but mainly access doors to the sides of the camper to access things that are on the inside. So speaking to cooling real quick, I want to put an AC right about here. With most campers, by the way, the AC is like super high up and it's like a tacked on item that sits out the back. That's horrible for what's called vehicle dynamics, essentially handling. So with the AC right here, nice down low, it'll be able to exhaust on 2 sides and intake on 1 side. That's generally how most air conditioners are. And if there were a big old bedside right here, we'd only have access to 1 side of that air conditioning. Now we have access from 3 sides. So here's a quick example of a window air conditioner like I want to use in my camper. This one intakes air on this side and on the other side, and then it exhausts waste heat on this side here. If we had bedsides in the way, it would cover 2 sides of this guy. With bedsides out of the way, we could have access to all 3 sides. The other thing, windows probably would be high up, so that's not a big issue, but is access doors though. So it's gonna be really nice to not have to go into the door of the camper and to be able to like have an access hatch that's right here, and then you can just reach right inside of the camper and grab things I need instead of having to climb up into the camper. Another thing too is if there are bedsides on both sides of this truck, you only have access to the camper via the rear. So without bedsides, I can put the door on this side here and not have it on the back. A lot of off-road builds, which this one will be along with its camper, a lot of off-road builds locate the spare tire right on the back of that camper. And that spare tire and your rear door would be both competing for space. Now having the bedside out of the way, we can have the door on the side and the spare tire still on the back. So I do have to admit there is one reason why I liked having bedsides on this truck, and only one reason. But that one reason is when you get back from the gym, or maybe you're working outside and you're really sweaty and you don't want to get those sweaty clothes inside the cab of the truck. It was really nice to just take those clothes off and throw them in the bed of the truck and not have to worry about them blowing out of the truck. With absolutely no bedsides, I can't do that. To be fair, this will get bedsides eventually. They're not necessary for the camper build, so I'll probably put off making them, but it has actually been designed in right here that would have a flip down tailgate and flip down bedsides that would all be removable. So there you go. That's why I think all trucks should come with flatbeds. You let me know what you think. Would you be okay with no trucks having bedsides, or at least having removable ones and not permanent bedsides? You let me know. remember, there's a lot coming to the channel, so there's gonna be a flatbed build. That's gonna be the next video. That's a pretty long series. The truck already has airbags, but obviously I have to record it. So that's gonna adjust the ride height of the truck for, you know, towing a trailer, or most importantly, what that's for is for the camper. I already have those other builds that are coming up. I'm doing a custom drop hitch. This truck's getting a rear bumper. I can make the rear bumper now because the flatbed's done. Obviously the rear bumper needs to protect the flatbed, and also the camper build will be coming at some point. Obviously that one's a little bit of a ways away, but it is most definitely coming. I've been preparing for this for a long time. It's been about a year, probably longer than that, 2 years. But anyways, it's coming. Also, I have pretty much everything I need for the camper to live out of it already. I just don't have the camper. And I have a fabrication setup in the garage that you've seen in the background probably this whole time. And I think about moving both of those into a trailer and taking this whole show on the road. If you think you'd be interested in me looking into the viability of that trailer, maybe you can check out the video that'll be linked above and down in the description. That video is already out. With that, I'm Jay. You've been watching Jay Designs, and thank you so much for watching. So I do have to admit, there is one reason why I liked having bedsides on this truck, and only one reason, and that reason is, hello cat. That reason is hello cat.